This trans person is pleading guilty to sexually abusing a baby when changing its diaper. And nope, not going to prison. This trans person is not going to prison either. Welcome to trans privilege. This time, Family Guy has predicted the future, not The Simpsons.
Excuse me, ma'am. No porn at the bar.
Oh, it's okay. I'm transgender.
Oh, I had no idea. Do whatever you want all the time.
There are all types of privilege, right? Even though we are told that white privilege and white supremacy are the main issues affecting Americans in today's world, which is obviously not true. I mean, everybody knows black privilege is the real privilege. I mean, y'all be looking like 20 years younger than your actual age, 50-year-olds looking like they're 30. Something ain't right. But now we're at a point in time where trans privilege is a very real thing, and it's a problem. Committing sexual assault and getting off scot-free. Yes, this is very true, and it is currently happening. This person was currently working at a daycare caring for infants. The colleague of this person that committed the sexual assault then observed them performing a circular motion while rubbing the infant's genitalia and said that was her clit area, and she likes it. It just made her day. To even just see someone else doing that, I don't even know what I would do. I think I would freeze and then probably like punch the shit out of them. At the very end of last month, January 29th, 2024, CHlLD, who was the person that committed the sexual assault, struck an agreement with the prosecutors which included entering a guilty plea in exchange for his charge of first-degree sexual abuse of a victim under 12 to be amended to sexual misconduct, which is considered a Class A misdemeanor. The remaining abuse charges were also dropped. This person, who started identifying as a woman 7 years ago, was represented by a prominent trans lawyer activist. Who would have thought? The jokes write itself sometimes, guys. CHlLD had been sentenced to 12 months in prison, but the judge postponed the sentence in favor of a 6-month conditional discharge. In addition to avoiding incarceration, the defendant may be able to clear his criminal record if he adheres to the conditions of the conditional discharge. So basically, all this person has to do is listen to what the judge said. Don't do that again. A little slap on the wrist, bitch. You're scot-free. You're good, even though you touched a baby's, you know. So this person's bond was originally set at $100,000. The court reduced it to $5,000. And as we said before, downgraded his felony sexual abuse charge of a minor to a misdemeanor and dropping all other abuse charges. What? No. And if you've been following me here on this channel for a while now, I've covered stories like this in videos before. And yes, it keeps happening. Just last year in Canada, a man who raped an infant was quietly moved to prison in a mother-baby unit after claiming that they were transgender. You cannot fucking make this up. In Australia, transgender TikToker, this was very recently, this story just came out I think last week. Transgender TikToker pleads guilty to child sexual abuse charges. Despite what the queer activists will tell you, this is very real and this is happening. Redux, an old school feminist website, has been covering these stories for the past few years now. Highly recommend giving them a follow on X. Here's another story out of Canada. Study finds nearly 45% of trans women inmates, and we say trans women, but we don't know if they're actually trans women or if they're trans women. You know what I mean? People taking advantage of the trans title. We don't know. Have been convicted of sex crimes. Just something tells me that those probably are not actual trans women. But you know. I mean, a few of them could be, but obviously my gut feeling tells me that the majority of these people are just sex-crazed, disgusting males claiming a trans identity to have trans privilege. The study, entitled Gender Diverse Offenders with a History of Sexual Offending, reveals a troubling pattern of violence among the convicted. This study was 3 years ago, from 2017 to 2020, and it had 99 gender-diverse inmates taking part in this study. Of the 99 inmate sample group, 44% of the trans women convicts are sex offenders. Here's another story. Father who sexually abused 7-year-old daughter for trans porn company now recorded as female offender by the New Jersey Department of Criminality. Obviously, absolutely disgusting. I can't even call them humans. Obviously, they're humans, but they're fucking animals. So many of these animals are clearly taking advantage of the system and getting away with it. Some of them don't even care and are so obviously out in the open about the fact that they're taking advantage of this stupid system that exists right now.
It was April of 2022 when Rose says jail guards brought a transgender woman into a female dorm. According to DOC policy, as much as possible, the department seeks to accommodate an individual's desired housing placement in accordance with their gender identity. But Rose says this inmate immediately showed their gender identity was a sham. Investigative records from Rikers show Rose and other female inmates immediately believed the new inmate was clearly male who infiltrated when they are clearly not transgender, that the prisoner stated openly and publicly that he was not gay nor trans, and that he's a whole man that likes women.
I mean, trans privilege. What else could you categorize this to be? Because the idiots running the government, running the cities, running the states, running the prison system don't want to be called transphobic. They are allowing this kind of to continue. And do you remember one of the women who was raped in a prison just last year? She is now suing the prison complex, and she should.
On April 6th, 2022, Rose Doe complained the supposedly trans inmate followed her into the bathroom and groped her. That same evening, the acting warden of the jail wrote this email saying, "I feel that individual is not a suitable fit for the female dorm." But the new detainee was allowed to stay, and early the next morning, Rose says the prisoner raped her.
He just grabs me, put me behind, and take my pants off. He raped me.
Here's another one. Daily Mail is like a leftist organization, and they are calling this trans woman predator. Her transgender charity shop worker who is transitioning into a woman exposed her penis to two 11-year-old girls from the window of her home. Oh, I said I wasn't gonna say her, but I said her. Fuck you, you're not a her. The 56-year-old who says that she is a naturist who enjoys being naked in her own home, I hate saying her because it's not a her, is accused of manipulating her genitals in full view of the girls 2 days in a row. There is a major difference between being in your own home, feeling the need to walk around naked in your own home, existing in your own space. I believe that that is possible, like should be okay. Like I do it in my home. I'm painting the walls. I don't want to get paint on my clothing. I paint naked, right? But I have my windows closed. I don't want anybody seeing me. I specifically don't make sure that I purposefully stand in front of the window knowing that these same two girls come home from school every day around the same time and are walking right past my window as I masturbate in front of the window staring at these two young girls. Like that's a big, not even a big stretch. You can't even compare the two. The fact that these people in court are calling this person she, her, again, trans privilege. Bills are now being presented to courts that would allow people to change their name and gender that are convicted felons. It is called Tiara's Law, named after this black trans woman who was a sex worker.
Kelly is a trans woman living in Colorado. She's a performer. She's also a convicted felon.
So in Florida, when you have three of a similar charge, whether they're misdemeanor, if they're misdemeanors and they're three of the similar charge, they become a felony charge. So that's where my felony came from, was from being a sex worker.
Listen, I understand in some cases where somebody might have broken the law, but they didn't physically harm anybody. They didn't steal anything. They didn't commit sexual assault, sexual abuse, nothing of that sort. They jaywalked, and now they want to legally change their name and gender. They should be able to do so. But what about the people we previously spoke about in this video, huh? No, I don't think so. Very different.
This is Tiara's Law.
Democratic State Representative Lorena Garcia introduced HB 1071. It clarifies in state law that if someone has a felony and they're also trans, they can get their name changed if the court allows it.
If people get their name changed, whether they're trans or not, their criminal record still is attached to their social security number, to who they are, to their whatever identifying factors they have. It's just making a law that exists accessible to everybody.
Here's the thing, I feel like it's still very easy to get around town without people having to ask for your social, right? Like, that's not a thing. It's a thing when you're applying for a job, but that's the only time, really. Nobody else asks that. Or if you're applying for, like, a mortgage. Criminals will do anything to erase their past history. But But no, cis people are the problem. What? How?
Cisgender privilege means not having to consider being exhausted physically and emotionally from constantly having to correct people about your gender, about your pronouns, about your name when you're out in the world. This is absolutely exhausting. And if I am just female and a woman, I never have to consider or even think about how freaking exhausted my trans and non-binary counterparts might be in the world.
See, this is the point in the video where I usually make fun of people like this, but the truth is, I'm just gonna let these people speak for themselves. What do you have to say for yourselves? Enlighten us. Honestly, I think I saved the most insane story for last. ACLU, and this is over a year old, but still, it's important. ACLU slams Florida for not providing gender-affirming care for men who raped and murdered women to harvest their hormones. Really bad? You're talking about cis privilege? Because people misgender you? This meme is really about male athletes in sports, but it could be used for male predators as well. It's a perfect meme for like pretty much any trans situation. By the way, I'm gonna sum this video up in saying this one thing. There is a study about the frequency of personality disorders in trans patients. Let's just leave this here. Let's just leave it here. One thing I will say is there is not a distinction in the study between people claiming a trans identity versus actual transsexual people. But either way, it's worrisome. The top 3 personality disorders in trans patients are narcissistic personality disorder. Who would have thought? We filmed tons of videos on this channel about that already. Obsessive compulsive. That makes sense. I could see that. And masochistic sadistic. I mean, it all makes sense and it's all crazy. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you have not already. And other than that, I will see you guys back here on Sunday with a brand new video. Until then, I love you. Keep calling out the bullshit. I'll see you guys then. Bye.